All right, chess fans, this is the second video in my live commentary of the Rocky Mountain Team Chess Challenge between New Mexico and Colorado. The first game went to New Mexico on board 7. It was Joe Schrader defeating Zach Umana. The second game we're looking at is Chad Frantz with the white pieces in this game versus Dennis Bolshekov of Colorado. Both players are rated in the 1300s, as you know. Class or 6 boards are always going to be the winners of the Class D championship in each state. Going into this, theoretically, it's up. New Mexico's up 1-0. Here are the competitors. Chad Frantz is on the right side, as are all New Mexico competitors in the screenshot. Dennis Bolshekov is on the left side, as are all Colorado competitors. You notice they put Rocky Mountain Team Chess Challenge right along the center of this room, and on the left and right hand sides were some quad tournaments that were held at the same time, to help subsidize the facility, which I think is an excellent idea. So we're going to go ahead and go to the action. Chad starts off with d4. We have like a double queen's pawn opening. I think right off the bat, bishop f4. I don't know. I guess it's a move. It seems like it loses tempo here. So bishop d2, the way he plays it, queen takes d2. It seems fairly reasonable. The knight is probably better suited on c3. It puts more pressure on the center. Chad plays knight f3, knight f6, castles. Just solid moves here. Bishop e2. A lot of times in Queen's Gambits or in this setup, you'll see that black will wait until white moves his light squared bishop to take the pawn on c4. Because if you notice, if black were to take the pawn, say for example, take the pawn move here, take the pawn on that move, then white develops his bishop for free, essentially. Or not necessarily for free, but in only one move. All right, so he goes and plays e5. Very aggressive. It seems a little overambitious. It looks like it just drops the pawn on d5 after d takes e5 and c4 takes d5. But the idea, as you can see, is he's trying to open up the center for his rook, which he's moved onto the e file. I think it's a bit early. I think simply, maybe a setup like this would be better. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if a5 is the right square or e7, but let's just say a5 for the moment because we're getting tempo. Bishop d3, and then the c5 break might be a little better. And then he can play something like, if you make any move there, I don't know if rook c1 is good. You can play something like b6 and bishop b7. So I mean that's a common idea in like a Grunfeld. That black will play the knight a5, swinging to get tempo on the bishop here, and then playing your pawn break and the bishop over. So I don't know, just an idea. But this e5, yep. Chad goes ahead and jumps on that. D takes e5, and it looks like it's going to just drop a pawn here. And you see, this might be something that Dennis missed in his analysis or his calculations at the board. If simply, queen takes bishop or knight takes, then rook takes e5, and it appears the pawn on d5 will hang. But Chad goes ahead and plays knight takes, which wins the extra pawn. Plus, it gets the king out of the way. And there's the secret to Chad's ability to do that. also, after king takes, um, you win the knight on d5. So it was a good little combination there from Chad, and he should be, um, he wins the knight, or the king um, has to come out to the center of the board. In which case, it's usually you don't win games when your king's going to e6, and that's what he does. Um, Clearly, it'd be a mistake here to just exchange on d5. You get the king out in the center of the board, but realistically, like for example, let's say we did exchange here. Oops. Now all of a sudden you have, I mean, it may be a little too early to get the king out this far. It's kind of not really an end. I mean, it's an end game, but it's, you know, a little scary. Um, with the two rooks on the board, it's kind of hard, and an open position, it's kind of hard to imagine the king as an attacking piece just yet. But still, after someone like rook d1 and king over, um, but black should just black besides being down a pawn is just fine, and stands a decent chance at drawing this endgame with accurate play on both sides. So after king here, I would think long castle or rook d1 seems called for. Probably rook d1. And that's what he played. All right, so now black can probably defend with c6, but yeah, Chad goes ahead and plays e4, and it's hard to imagine this knight really surviving. G6. It seems like something like simple like queen h3 check and castle should do the trick. Or if for example queen h3, king f1, castle, and then he tries to move the knight out of the way, just queen f3, repinning the knight should suffice. Or maybe even better yet, just actually that's countlessly better. Queen takes h7 check, and the queen is hanging. In fact, after this, I don't really see much for black to do. Yeah, he's just going to have to give up the material there. So after g6, Chad plays queen g4. All right, well, this should be sufficient. Although the nice thing about h3 is you had, now after castle, knight f6, it gets a little more complicated. That's what's played. Ooh, but it still seemed like white could try for something a little more. I don't know. White's still winning. I'm looking at something like queen f3, and then you're pinning the knight again. But you can't really play e5. You'd have to play for g4 or something like that, and I don't think that's as good. So, all right. Yeah. So I guess this shows that just queen h3 was the winning move instead of queen g4. Okay, so take, knight takes, rook d7 check. That seems reasonable. Keeping the rook active.